I never imagined my big moment would end with red wine soaking into my brand new silk dress, shattered glasses scattered across the floor of Milano's, and my mother towering over me, screaming about family loyalty. But there I was, watching my promotion celebration disintegrate as my sister Olivia sat back, that familiar smug smile spreading across her face. She knew she'd won again. I'm Emma Sullivan, 28 years old, and I'd just become the youngest senior analyst at Preston and Myers investment firm. After 6 grueling years of working overtime, sacrificing weekends, and grinding my way up, I had finally earned it. The promotion meant a corner office, a fat paycheck, and the validation I'd spent so long chasing. I should have known better than to invite my family to celebrate. How dare you? My mother's shrill voice sliced through the air, shattering the otherwise peaceful ambience of the upscale restaurant. Your sister needs that money for her wellness center, and you're just hoarding it like some selfish dragon guarding treasure. I inhaled sharply, trying to keep my cool as every eye in the restaurant turned toward us. Mom, that's my emergency fund. I've worked for years to build it. Olivia can apply for a business loan like anyone else. A loan? Olivia's voice dripped with contempt. Why would I go into debt when you're practically swimming in money? You've always been the selfish one, Emma, always thinking about yourself. I could have laughed at the irony. Olivia, who hopped from one half-baked idea to the next, always landing on her feet thanks to our parents' endless handouts, calling me selfish? Olivia, who'd borrowed my college textbook money and never bothered to pay it back. Olivia, who somehow convinced our parents that her 5th career change in 3 years was more important than my need for financial security? The wellness center is a legitimate business opportunity, my father interjected. I sat back in my chair, feeling a cold wave of realization wash over me. My parents had dug themselves into a financial hole that was far deeper than I'd imagined, and all for Olivia's countless business failures. I should have seen the signs, should have questioned more when they made excuses for her. But now, the full scope of their financial recklessness was laid out in front of me. A 3rd mortgage on their house, and with all the failed ventures Olivia had pursued, it was only a matter of time before they hit rock bottom. The money that should have been set aside for their future had been drained, and Olivia was still planning her next dream, with no concern for the mess she'd created. I quickly drafted an email to Mr. Peters, asking for a detailed report on the withdrawals and mortgages. He replied almost instantly, confirming the financial strain and even offering to discuss potential solutions if I wanted to get involved. But I couldn't help but feel a sickening mixture of anger and exhaustion. How many more of Olivia's visions would my parents sacrifice their future for? How much more damage had they done by constantly bailing her out? And how much longer would it take for them to realize that enabling her wasn't helping her at all? I leaned back in my chair and let out a long, slow breath. Part of me wanted to march over to my parents' house right now and confront them, but I knew it wouldn't help. They wouldn't listen. They never did. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened a new message to Aunt Susan. Thank you for the update. It looks like Olivia's taking advantage of everything, again. I'll look into the 3rd mortgage and start taking steps to protect my own finances. Do you think you could get me the details on her retreat center? I'm thinking it's time I had a talk with her myself. I hit send and set the phone down. This wasn't just about Olivia anymore. It was about my own peace of mind. I couldn't let them drag me into their chaos anymore. I had to protect my future, no matter how much they tried to make me feel guilty for it. A part of me wished I could just wash my hands of it all, but I knew better. As long as my parents continued enabling Olivia, there would always be more drama. I would have to be smart, calculated, maybe even cut them off completely if it came to that. I'd already taken the first steps by distancing myself from their financial mess, but that might not be enough. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from my mom. Emma, we need to talk. This is tearing the family apart. Olivia can't keep doing this, and we can't keep ignoring it. Please, come home. I stared at the message for a long moment. She hadn't apologized. She never would. But the plea for me to fix it, again, was the same. It would always be the same, and I wasn't going to be the one to do it anymore. I typed a response, then deleted it. There was nothing I could say that would change anything. Instead, I turned my attention back to work. I'd deal with the family drama later, but right now, I had bigger things on my plate. My career was progressing, my promotion was real, and I wasn't going to let anything, not even my family, pull me back down. I smiled to myself, feeling the weight in my chest lift a little. For the first time in a long while, I was starting to believe that I could truly have it all: the career, the security, and the freedom from toxic relationships. I was done carrying their burden. It was time for me to build my own future. I took a deep breath and looked at all of them, my parents, Olivia, Aunt Susan, and Mr. Harrison's legal team who had come along for backup. The weight of the situation pressed down on me, but I couldn't afford to flinch now. This wasn't just about protecting my future anymore. This was about trying to salvage whatever remained of my parents' financial security before they lost it all. I'm not here to fix Olivia's mistakes, I started, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. What I did was necessary. If I hadn't intervened, you'd be watching your retirement, your home, everything, disappear. The deposit for this so-called retreat center is just the latest in a long line of bad decisions funded by your financial desperation. My mother's face went pale, and she opened her mouth to protest, but I raised my hand to stop her. No more lies, I said. I'm done with that. The evidence is clear. Olivia has been exploiting you for years. She's been using your emotions against you to get what she wants, and you let her. Olivia's face flushed with anger, but I didn't back down. I know you think she's just following her dreams, but at what cost? Your home, your retirement, your financial stability, none of that was worth it. Olivia sneered. You're just jealous that I'm actually doing something with my life. You can't stand seeing me succeed while you hide behind your fancy investments and safety nets. That's not what this is about, I replied, my voice cold. This isn't about jealousy. This is about boundaries and reality. You can't keep throwing away other people's hard work and money on your dreams without consequences. Olivia shook her head, scoffing. You think you're saving them? You're ruining everything. This is just like always. You've always been the one who got everything, always the perfect one, the good one, and I've been left with nothing. That's not true, Olivia, Aunt Susan spoke up, her voice firm. We've all tried to support you, but this isn't support, this is manipulation. Your sister is doing what you should have done years ago, facing reality. Olivia's face turned red, her eyes narrowing. You don't understand. It's about more than just money. I'm building something important. I'm going to make it work, with or without anyone's help. I shook my head. That's the fantasy. You've been chasing one failure after another because you refuse to face the fact that not every dream is meant to be, and it's costing our parents everything. My father, who had been silent up until now, finally spoke. You don't get it, Emma. We did it for her. We believed in her. We wanted to help her have a better life. But at what cost? I asked softly. You're destroying your own future, your own retirement, for someone who doesn't have a plan, just a series of empty dreams. There was a long silence. Then, my father sighed deeply, his shoulders slumping. I didn't realize it had gotten this bad. We wanted to help Olivia, but I see now it's cost us too much. I didn't know where to draw the line. You should have asked for help, I said, my tone softer now, but it's not too late. We still have a chance to fix this. I turned to Olivia. This is where we draw the line. The retreat center is not happening. I've already stopped the payment, and your parents are no longer going to fund this. You're going to have to find another way to fund your ventures, and this time, it has to be your responsibility. Olivia glared at me, her face twisted with resentment. You're ruining everything. I'm saving everything, I said, standing tall, and if you want to continue this, you'll have to do it on your own, without manipulating anyone. Aunt Susan stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. You've taken advantage of them long enough. Olivia, this has to stop, and if you continue, you'll be facing the consequences. Olivia opened her mouth to argue, but something in my expression must have made her hesitate. Her shoulders sagged in defeat, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes, but it didn't last long. She turned sharply and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. My mother's voice cracked as she spoke. Emma, I don't know what to say. I'm not doing this because I want to hurt anyone, I said quietly. I'm doing it because I love you, and I don't want to see everything you've worked for disappear, but this has to be the wake-up call. No more enabling. There was a long silence as my parents absorbed what had just happened. My father's face was filled with regret, and my mother's eyes were filled with something like shame. They knew I was right, but they were ashamed that it had taken this much for them to see it. I'm sorry, my father finally said, his voice low. I didn't know where to turn, but I see now. I've made a lot of mistakes. I know, I said softly, but this is where we fix it. This is where we start over. Mr. Harrison's junior partner cleared his throat. With the court order in place, my father's voice was firm as he held up the court order. This is a temporary conservatorship. As of this morning, I have legal control over your finances. For 3 seconds, not a sound was made. Then, chaos erupted. You can't do this, Olivia screamed, her voice sharp with disbelief. It's illegal. My mother jumped up, furious. I'm calling our lawyer. Please do, my father replied coldly, not even looking at her. The family law specialist, who had been sitting quietly until now, cleared her throat. Your lawyer will want to review this, but given that he's already aware of the financial exploitation, I doubt he'll contest it. Olivia's skin went ashen. What exploitation? What are you talking about? I opened my laptop and connected it to their TV. Let's start with the juice bar. 3 years ago, you convinced them to take out a second mortgage for $150,000. The business tanked in 6 months. No business plan, no repayment plan, no consequences. Olivia stammered. That was a market issue, a timing issue. Then came the organic clothing line. I continued, clicking through the documents. Another $100,000 down the drain. The crystal healing practice? $75,000 lost. The life coaching certification and yoga studio? $125,000. And now, you were about to drain their last assets for a retreat center. Those were investments in my future. Olivia shot back, desperation creeping into her voice. No, Olivia, I corrected her sharply. Those were systematic withdrawals that left our parents on the edge of financial ruin, and it ends today. My mother's eyes welled up. We were just trying to help her achieve her dreams. No, Mom, you were being manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to prey on your emotions, I said. Did you even read the contract for the retreat center? The one that would have made you personally liable for the full purchase price if the crowdfunding failed? My father turned white as a ghost. What? Show them, Olivia. Show them the contract you had them ready to sign. Olivia's face contorted with rage. You're just jealous because they believe in me. They support my vision. They support you because you've manipulated them into thinking they have to. But it's over now. For the next 30 days, every financial decision goes through me. And after that, assuming the judge makes this permanent, we'll work out a sustainable budget that doesn't involve destroying their retirement. You can't do this, Olivia shouted, shaking with fury. Actually, I can, and I already have, I said, the weight of the decision finally settling in. Your access to their accounts is cut off. The retreat center deposit has been stopped, and if you even think about posting anything about this on social media, our lawyers will add defamation to the financial exploitation charges. My mother spun toward my father. Do something, but he was too busy staring at the financial records on the TV, the harsh truth finally sinking in. We've lost everything, he whispered. Not yet, I said softly, my voice steady. That's why I did this. You have one asset left, your house. And I'm not going to let you lose it to fund another one of Olivia's pipe dreams. Aunt Susan, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. They needed this. Emma, we all knew it, but no one had the courage to stop it. Olivia, her anger now morphing into panic, pulled out her phone. My followers won't stand for this. I'm going live. The family law specialist stepped in. Post anything about this, and you'll face immediate legal action. Financial exploitation of the elderly is a criminal offense. Elderly? My mother sputtered. We're barely 60. Old enough for the law to take this very seriously, I said, my voice laced with finality. Now, we're going to sit down and talk about what happens next. There will be financial counseling, a strict budget, and most importantly, no more funding Olivia's schemes. I'm 30, Olivia cried out. You can't control who Mom and Dad choose to support. Actually, for the next 30 days, I can, and after that, hopefully, they'll have the strength to say no to you themselves. The weight of the moment was unbearable, but as the reality settled over the room, I noticed something I hadn't expected. My father's face softened. A flicker of relief crossed his features, a momentary spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, someone had finally broken the cycle. My mother's sobs had quieted, and Olivia stood frozen, her carefully crafted world crumbling before her eyes. As for me, I felt lighter than I had in years. Sometimes, protecting your boundaries means doing something that feels impossible. Sometimes, real love means playing the villain. And sometimes, the hardest thing is the right thing. Now, I said, reaching into my bag for a folder of documents, let's talk about your new budget. 6 months after the conservatorship was made permanent, I sat at my parents' kitchen table, reviewing their monthly budget. The progress was staggering, not just financially, but emotionally. The mortgage payment cleared yesterday, my father said, setting a steaming cup of coffee in front of me. There was something in his voice, pride. I hadn't heard that in years. That's 6 months of payments made on time. And the credit counseling? I asked, though I already knew. The counselor sends me updates every week, he replied, his tone steady. Mom hasn't missed a single session. Through the kitchen window, I saw my mother, bent over in the garden, planting vegetables. She'd started doing that after we implemented the budget, a hobby that cost little but brought her peace. The therapist says it's helping me understand where things went wrong, she'd told me the other day. The first month after the conservatorship had been granted had been the hardest. Olivia had tried everything to break us, tears, threats, even trying to hire a lawyer she couldn't afford without our parents' money. But now, the atmosphere was different. Have you heard from Olivia? Dad asked quietly, his eyes focused on the papers in front of us. She's working as a receptionist at a yoga studio downtown, I replied, actually working, not just planning to own one. Her therapist says it's good for her to experience the business from the ground up. Dad looked at me, a mix of concern and hope in his eyes. Is she changing? I nodded slowly. She's trying, and that's more than I could have said 6 months ago. Mom walked back inside, holding a basket of tomatoes. She set it down on the counter and glanced at the budget reports, but instead of retreating as she used to, she simply joined us. The utilities are under budget this month, she said, her voice soft with pride. I've been hanging the laundry outside instead of using the dryer. I smiled. That's great, Mom. How's the garden coming along? Productive, she said, her lips curving into a slight smile, unlike some other investments we've made. I chuckled, the joke feeling like a breakthrough. For the first time in years, my mother was able to laugh at their financial mistakes instead of denying them. Mr. Harrison asked about you both yesterday, I said, trying to gauge their reactions. Oh, really? Mom's brow furrowed. What did he say? Well, he's impressed with your progress, I replied. He said you two are becoming a case study in financial recovery. He wanted to know if you'd be willing to speak to other families going through something similar. Dad looked at me, eyes wide. Us? But we're the ones who messed up. Exactly, I said. That's why you're so important. You accepted help and did the hard work to change. That's rare. Mom hesitated before sitting down at the table. I was so angry with you, she admitted, her voice trembling. When you took over, I thought you were being cruel, but now I see you were the only one strong enough to stop the cycle. She reached for my hand, her touch warm. We would have lost everything trying to fund Olivia's dreams that were really just ways to avoid facing reality. As my phone buzzed, I glanced at the screen. A text from Olivia. Got my first performance review today. Actually earned it instead of manifesting it. Weird feeling. Good weird though. I showed it to my parents. Dad's eyes glistened with unshed tears. She's really changing, isn't she? She's trying, I said quietly, and that's a start. The doorbell rang, and Mom went to answer it. When she returned, Aunt Susan was with her, smiling widely. I brought over the flyers for the financial literacy workshop, Aunt Susan said, handing them to me. Guess who volunteered to speak? We all turned to see Olivia standing in the doorway. She looked different, more grounded, more real. Hey, she said softly, I thought maybe my experience could help other people avoid the same mistakes. The room went quiet. We hadn't all been together like this since the conservatorship hearing. Coffee? Mom offered, her voice tentative. Thanks, Olivia said, stepping into the room. She didn't sit at the head of the table like she used to. She chose a side chair and sat down, the weight of her past still heavy, but her posture less combative. I've been thinking a lot, Olivia began, about patterns, manipulation, and how I used to treat money, how I treated all of you. Dad reached for her hand. We let you down too, sweetheart. We should have set boundaries long ago. Olivia nodded. Dr. Matthew says enabling isn't love. My manifestation mindset was really just magical thinking to avoid responsibility. I pulled out an extra budget report. Want to see how real financial planning works? To my surprise, Olivia nodded. Actually, yes. The studio owner said maybe I can train for management. He said I should learn about budgets and stuff. As we sat together, talking through numbers, real numbers, not manifested ones, I felt the last traces of tension melt away. My emergency fund was still safe in my account, but it no longer felt like a barrier between me and my family. Instead, it was a foundation for the future, a future that, for the first time in years, seemed hopeful. And maybe, just maybe, that's what real change looks like. Sometimes, standing up for yourself is the hardest thing to do, but it's also the most powerful. To anyone out there dealing with a difficult family situation, remember this: you deserve to be treated with respect. Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. If you liked this story, Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'd love to hear your thoughts or any similar experiences. Share them below. Until next time, take care and stay strong.